everyone, my name is Zach REDRUP, this is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I am joined by the Word Alive frontman, Telle Smith. We talk about the band's new album, Hard Reset, working with 3 different producers, signing to Thriller Records, the character on the cover artwork, getting 5 different features this time around, including Bad Omens and Loveless, his Twitch creation, Plum Island, and loads more. Now, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast and you want to show your support, there's a few ways that you can do that. Number 1, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. It takes just a few seconds and it really does help. Number 2, share this on your social media, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Or number 3, if you want to go the extra mile, you can pay a little bit each month to join the Patreon, and in return you'll get access to episodes early along with some other perks, or you can pick up some merch from the store. All the links to that and the podcast socials where you can follow us can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Telle Smith, who is the vocalist of The Word Alive. How you doing, man?
Doing good, my friend. Can't complain. And just excited about the new album. Hopefully people are excited for it. And just excited to talk about whatever part about it you want to talk about.
Definitely. Yeah, like you say, this is the 7th album, Hard Reset, out August 25th. How are you feeling about putting this one out there compared to, your previous albums? Because, the title itself is quite a direct album title for you guys.
Yeah, I think, this album is somewhat of a rebirth for us. And, when you've had like the history, the lineup changes, for us to make this record, it was going to be like, this record has to be special and it has to really signify where the band is now and what you can expect moving forward to a certain degree. Like, we're always going to change things up. We're always going to try new things and experiment and push the envelope where we can. But for us, it was like, this is a breath of fresh air into the band. And so hopefully fans feel that newfound energy when they listen to it.
So was that kind of the mindset going into this album then, Hard Reset? You've obviously got the lineup changes, you've got some new members since the last record, you've got, a new label as well, which we can talk about in a bit. And I guess also what's happened collectively for everyone the past few years since the last album is, pandemic, people have reflected on their lives, taken stock on what's important, what isn't, and just everything's changed.
Exactly. I think, like life changed as we know it, as us individually, as the band, just people, our fans, like everyone felt it. Everyone went through that period of time in like various different ways. But, for us, it was one thing that as I was streaming on Twitch and like, that was like one thing I did. I still do from time to time, but that was like my main thing that I did like during the pandemic. And you would just say like, when things weren't working or when something was going wrong, like just turn it off and turn it back on. Like, and that's where like the title like really like stemmed from is, we had to take that moment to pause and to be like, what kind of record are we going to make if we're going to make a record? And, what kind of band do we want to be at this stage in our career, 15 years in? And, the biggest like answer to that question was we wanted to just be ourselves, but we wanted to bring all the elements of our band into one album. And so I feel like we did that, and you have a little bit of everything that we've ever done all into one record. So that was the goal. And the goal moving forward too is, we're doing our Hard Reset headlining tour this summer and into September. And for us, it's like, we're playing, I think we added a song yesterday where I think we're playing 16 songs, and it's like, it's from Empire, Deceiver, Life Cycles, Dark Matter, Real, Violent Noise, Monomania. It's like, it's got something from everything. So like, that's kind of like the theme, I think, of our band moving forward is like, we don't want to forget the past. We don't want to be, chained to it either. It's, we want you to know, like, come to a show and you're going to maybe probably hear one of your old favorite songs, but also like we want to try to push things forward at the same time. And so it's about like harnessing the full mantra of the band into one thing. And then being like, at the end of the day, we hope you love this record, but even more than that, we hope you love our band and come see us live, because the live setting is where like all the magic is. And
Yeah.
so hopefully this makes people want to come see us live.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think you kind of said there, like you're kind of embracing the past, but not kind of dwelling and sitting in it. You're moving forward whilst also, appreciating what you have done and what you've achieved so far.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess that kind of lends as well to, you went with three producers this time, obviously Eric, Ron, and Matt Good you've worked with before on previous albums, but then you also had Hiram Hernandez, who kind of, I guess, did he kind of like help thread all those songs together that you worked on with those other two producers?
Yeah, so we did Slow Burn and A New Empty with Eric Ron, and we did Fade Away and One of Us. Like Fade Away was pretty much mostly done with Matt Good. One of Us, I would say, is like a split between Matt and then Hiram. And then yeah, all the other songs, like Hiram basically like was, I would say, like the master produced, to like made sure like everything went together.
Yeah.
And he was a spark. Matt Good is actually who suggested we go to more than one producer, because he was like, there's stuff that I do with you guys that I love and is great and has been really successful for your band, and then there's stuff that Eric's done, and he was like, and then you have this new thing that you're doing, and like this, like, just I don't know, it just felt like a fresh like version of the Word Alive with Hiram, and he's like, let's just put all of it together into one thing. And so that's how this album was made, and it's why I think it's so special, is we kind of spread around the love of like who, like Eric Ron and Matt Good, two of our best friends that are amazing, talented people and producer, songwriter, world, that they just want us to make the best record we could possibly make too. So it's like them being a part of it was so important.
Yeah. Well, I guess, they want to make sure that what they're putting their name to is something that they're proud of as well. And I guess the balance of them kind of putting their own stamp on the songs they worked on whilst making it cohesive was the challenge on their part, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the songs just we're a band that I feel like we can always write songs. It's just about like, is there a home for it in the current album we're working on? And so these songs just fit really well with everything we were doing. And the first song I think started with Zach and I in Arizona back in like 2019, and then in 2020 A New Empty started with Eric Ron, and then Fade Away I think in the same year. And it just kind of like started to build towards like, we're like, okay, we're like writing for a record, but we have all the time in the world. So it was like there was no like rush. So we got to sit with songs for a long time and like really work on them, rework on them. And I think it shows, because there's so much unique energy put into each song that I feel like they each get to shine as much as they could.
Yeah. Well, so you had some songs there then that even predate the last album, Monomania, then, but before that came out.
Yeah. So Hate Me started, and I pitched that song to the rest of the band for Monomania, and they just didn't feel like it was, I guess, album worthy, or they didn't feel like it was for that album.
Yeah.
But I always felt like it was a great song. Zach always felt like it was a great song. And so then, when it's just Zach and I left, we're like, let's make this as cool as it can be. And then once it started to come together and be revamped, and it went from like a demo to like it's sounding like really, really good, then I was like, this sounds like Julian would kill it. And so then I sent him the song, and he recorded it, and he crushed his parts. Like he was the perfect person for that song. No one else could have done better on it than him.
Well, yeah, you mentioned there like the older songs, and I think I read somewhere that you originally had an album pretty much ready to go, and then obviously Tony and Matt kind of stepped down, and then I think, did you scrap most of what that original album was, and then you wrote another album more or less, which obviously then became Hard Reset?
Yeah, we had been writing a lot. I mean, like I had my songs, Zach had his songs, Tony had his songs. And we were, I mean, I don't know, we probably had like 15 songs or ideas, maybe more at some point. And so then, yeah, we obviously like, we're like, scrapped those songs because we're like, well, we're not going to use his songs that he's not even going to be in the band. Like it just didn't feel right. There is, I think, one part on A New Empty that Tony did do. So that's the last song that he was a part of, was that one. But as a whole, it just felt like we needed to refocus and recenter, and then let's come back to the drawing board and let's see what we make from this hard reset, and let's just let the past be the past. And so we just let whatever was there kind of go, and they'll probably just end up being demos for forever, or maybe they'll be used in other projects. I don't know, but for us, it was just about writing something that was like new and fresh and matched the energy of what we were doing going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So I do want to talk about the cover artwork for a little bit. So It looks like, so there's obviously this character who's kind of in a desolate land, and there's like, I don't know if they're tarot cards that are swirling around, but you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like the figure is linked to the figure that's on the Monomania cover because of the balaclava thing, and also the Deceiver cover as well, I guess.
Yeah. So the character is essentially, he is like the embodiment of the word alive.
Right.
And the tarot cards, it's one for each album. It like represents each CD.
Right.
And each one has its own meaning, but it's kind of like this collective like story of, okay, you can see the world's been like ravaged, it's been like blown up, it's and that's kind of like indicative of the world in the time when like it changed all of our lives. And there's like, this is like a post-apocalyptic feel. Like even now, like, as we live our lives, like it's changed a little bit, at least for everyone. Even if your life didn't change that much, like it changed for a lot of people, and things are just different now. So this is like this version of the word alive that is very aware of the history of the band, but we are in control of where we go from here. And it's about rebuilding and sharing however many more years of music the fans give us.
Well, like you say, it kind of links in with that title, Hard Reset, like the characters holding the links to your album's pre-reset, I guess. So I guess that's a really good way of kind of like looking back at pre that album to where you are today, where this new chapter begins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, looking back at the previous album, Monomania, and you mentioned there obviously the time when that came out. It came out just before obviously the world shut down, which unfortunately obviously didn't give that album the time on the road that it deserved. But I mean, looking back, do you think that might potentially a good thing? Because I guess in a way, because it came out when it did, it missed that limbo period of bands and labels saying, well, let's hold on to the album for a little bit longer, let's wait out and see how things are going on. And I guess that gave you guys a kind of breather on the band, because I think you guys have been touring pretty much nonstop since 2008, 2009.
Yeah, we've been touring nonstop. It was the first like real break the band had ever had, and it was a much needed break, regardless of like what happened. With like people deciding to go different ways or pursue different interests. It's like we needed that break regardless. And for us with Monomania, it was like, at first we were bummed because we were like, okay, we just put this out and then it's essentially like your album gets shelved. But it's like, well, we started to think about it and we're like, or we could look at it like we were blessed to give our fans something to listen to while, the world wasn't making sense. So I'm very thankful that the album came out when it did. I wouldn't have said that for the first couple of months of it being out. I was pretty bummed. But then when I started to hear like the reaction of what the songs were meaning to people who were really struggling, I was like, dude, this is exactly what this record was made for. We just didn't know it yet. Yeah,
I guess as well, because when you did release it and there were so many bands and labels holding music back, it's like you were one of the last new releases before things kind of started changing and people didn't know what they were doing. Yeah. And retrospectively, I guess you could look at the album cover as well, and like there's the character in isolation, which obviously we all were at that time as well. Yeah, no, there are some eerie coincidences with No Way Out being the biggest song off the record. Like there are a lot of things where I'm like, okay, like something was happening in the universe that like made this record drop when it did. Yeah, some strange coincidences, definitely. Yeah. See, we mentioned earlier you've signed over to Thriller Records, which makes this new album the first one you've released away from
Yes.
Fearless. But I know obviously there's
Yep.
Bob was with Fearless, and you've kind of signed over to Thriller
Mhm.
now, where he is now. Even just kind of despite that connection and already established relationship you'll have with Bob, was there ever kind of any apprehension to step away from a label you've literally been with from the beginning?
Like not really, honestly. It was also a much needed change. When we signed on Fearless, like there was, I think when we left, there were only one or two people who were still there from when we first signed. So it's like it wasn't the same label as when we signed. And it
Right.
wasn't even the same label from like record to record per se. So there were some great people that were working there still, or people who'd come into the team. Mark Mignowski, being one of them who was just so supportive and really got behind Monomania in the band. But like over the years, it had changed and it was just time for us and for them. I think, I don't know how to describe it other than we had a great relationship. There was a lot of respect, but just like all relationships, sometimes like if you don't water, that garden,
Mm.
it's not going to grow. And so we needed to go somewhere where we felt like we were going to be watered again because we knew that that's what the band needed. And so when we were having conversations, a lot of people didn't even know we left Fearless ever, but it's because we requested to be released like in the pandemic, like when there was lockdowns, because we didn't know how long we were going to be out, not able to tour and make
Yeah.
music, whatever. So we just wanted to be able to have the freedom to like put out music if and when we needed to, free from any like restrictions from a label. And then that ended up being a nice break for us. And then that gave us time to kind of like see, do we want to do this without a label? Do we want to go fully independent? And when Bob came back and we started having our first conversations, he was like, I'm coming back and I'm trying to build, something like really special, but I'm not going to sign you guys unless I feel like we can like really give you the best chance to succeed from a label standpoint. And he had obviously known the ins and outs of the Word Alive more than anyone. And so then the team wasn't fully assembled yet. We were having other conversations with different labels. And then he came back like 11th hour and he's like, let's do this. And I was like, what better story would there be than to finish with the person who believed in us first? So that's what led us to Thriller, and everyone at Thriller are so great. Like the energy there is awesome. And I'm really excited and happy that this is our home because I wake up every day and someone from the label is like excited about something, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I guess that also ties in with, this kind of hard reset route you're going down, obviously with the new album and all that. And I think it's also good that not only have you gone with a new label, but it's with a label that is new itself. Like it's a fresh label, it's a fresh team. You've got, you're like one of the more already established acts on there, but they've got new acts, and there's a variety of different genres on there as well.
Yeah, I will say this, Bob has always had a really great eclectic ear and good taste in music. And I think he's showing that again, like that being having a diverse, roster is a really fun, cool thing to work. It's like the people at the label, yeah, they can go from Honey Revenge to the Word Alive to the home team, it's like it's just got to be so fun to work there because it's like you've got to have something you probably really enjoy,
Yeah.
like and are passionate about. And then you're gonna have work stuff because that's just the way the world is. But you're gonna probably have something that you like. Actually, I'm like, okay, I really like working this. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
And speaking of eclectic as well, you've got 5 guest features on this album, which is
Yeah.
the most guest features you've had on any album so far. And yeah, like before, you've got like a range of different people. Like obviously you've got Matt on there who, it makes sense he's producing the album, and he's been with you guys, working with you guys for a while.
Yeah.
Craig on there, he's got history with the band at the beginning.
Yeah.
What was it like kind of pulling all those features together? Was that also part of this hard reset kind of idea of kind of trying new things and getting other people involved in the Word Alive?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always loved the collaborations, dating back to Deceiver, having Levi and from Miss Maya and Dave from We Came as Romans. Like
Yeah.
we've had them come out on stage so many times over the years. And it's like it was always a cool moment for fans. So and over the years we wanted to have different features and different parts, but everyone couldn't agree or like the schedules didn't work out or whatever it was. So this time it was like it's only Zach and I at the time who are gonna be like, what do you think? Or is this cool? And Zach's pretty much like, do whatever you think, like do whatever you think is gonna be sick. And then if it's sick, then let's do it. And so I love the collaborative like aspect of being in a band and sharing that with, your friends and fans. I didn't know that there would be five. It wasn't like there was like a number. It was just like what songs felt naturally like they would lend themselves to having that. And the one thing I knew that I wanted to do that was different is I didn't want to just give someone like a verse or a breakdown or a bridge. Like I wanted it to feel like, we wrote the song together and to have, their that person like have their full flavor of what they bring to the table, able to shine. So it started, Craig was the first one I called and I sent him Fade Away and he went into the studio with Matt Good and recorded it in Phoenix. I honestly don't know who was second. Maybe it was Philip with A New Empty, maybe. And I think the last one actually was, no, the last one was Noah, but I had talked to him and we had been working on other songs together. And I felt like one of us, the song that he's on, I was just like, this song, it just feels like he would be perfect for it. So when showed him that one, he was hyped, and it just kind of came together. Like, with Julian from Loveless, it was like online. We had followed each other and been, I'm a big fan of his voice, and, we just have like this mutual respect of what we do. And then, fans see us interacting and they're like, Loveless Word Alive feature or like collab win.
Yeah.
And one of us wrote, down or what, and it just like progressed. And then I was like, well, actually I have this song that I think would be perfect for you. And you crushed it. So it just worked out like seamlessly. And, at least for me, I feel like all the features feel very like natural in the scope of the record and in their placement. It doesn't feel like forced. And that was the thing, was just like some songs, it just didn't feel like a feature could really make the song better. And in these cases, each time it made the song better.
Yeah. We kind of hit the nail on the head there as well. Like, features are becoming more popular in rock and metal nowadays. I think there was like a taboo on them for a while for some unknown reason.
Yeah,
but
it's weird. I don't know either.
Yeah. But it feels like with these, like I guess some bands will get a feature on and it feels like they've got the feature on for the sake of having a feature. Like it just kind of seems kind of chopped in there. Whereas with these all seem like collaborations. So it's kind of like each artist on their respective song has put their own imprint within the song itself. It's not just they're there for the sake of being there.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I wanted it to be where it was like, I think everyone has at least two sections. So like whether it's a verse and a chorus or a chorus and a bridge or whatever it is, it's like, I didn't want it to just be one little, like you're in, you're out like thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I want you to be a part of this song, like not just this part. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. I think people are going to really enjoy all the features. Everyone killed it. And I couldn't be more honored. Us, the Word Alive, we could not be more thankful to them for, lending their talents to our band.
Yeah. Well, stepping away from the Word Alive briefly, I believe, weren't you working on a solo album for a little while? Is that still in the works, or is that on ice?
I just do singles for my solo stuff. So no like direct plans for a EP or an LP. I'm sure at some point I'll like collect the songs together and then create an EP from that, just to like mark like certain eras of what I've done. And but as a whole, like I write songs sporadically, and when I can put them, I have a bunch of songs. I have way more songs that are going to come out, but I've just been I kind of paused and I wanted to finish the Word Alive record and get
Yeah.
that done. So once that comes out, August 25th, obviously, then I have a feature. I think it's going to come out in September for a really special project with a really awesome band. And that's going to be more on the Word Alive side, but at least stylistically. But then after that, so I think October, which sounds far from now, but that's the earliest I could. I think October or November, I have a solo single that'll come out.
Right. Okay. And so when you're kind of writing on your own, do you kind of sense when you're writing like this feels more like a Word Alive thing than a solo thing?
Yeah. So for my solo stuff, I go into every session like very intentional to touch on that side of what I like and love that I know there's not really much of a place for it in the Word Alive.
Mm.
And then for the Word Alive, like, it's like I go specifically and I'm like, okay, I know like roughly where our lane is from the furthest away to the furthest point, but like this is the Word Alive, like within here and what I can do. So it's interesting. It's like very, very different places in my mind where the songs start from. And, because the Word Alive is a band. So it's like I'm writing and thinking of like every person in the band and us playing it live. When it's a solo thing, it's more like it comes from just like a melody or an emotion or one lyric, and it like drives the whole song to come together. And I don't have to think, what are the drums doing or what are the guitars doing? It's like nothing's going to happen unless I feel like it adds to the emotion of the song. And you don't need to add something just because you're like, well, I need guitars because there's a guitar player. It's like there are no rules in that regard. So I start most of the songs pretty simple and build them out from there. But it's really fun. It's a rewarding project to have. And I think it also is good for me to have something that's that outlet for me with those songs rather than like subconsciously trying to put that into the Word Alive.
Yeah, definitely. And continuing to stay away from the Word Alive just for a little bit longer. I've not seen any of this material before, but I've heard about Plum Island. So when's Netflix picking that up?
Oh man. Wow. I did not see that one coming. Plum Island. I wonder what season we're on. It's been a minute. I want to say we're about to start season 4 or 5. Season 4 or 5. I haven't thought about it in a minute. And but it has been picked up. Yeah, it's been we say it's been picked up for a new season. So I'm sure probably after this tour, so maybe like September, we'll dive back into Plum Island. And if you don't know, there's no like full describing it without seeing it, so you'll just have to follow me on Twitch.
Yeah, if you knew, you'd feel it in your plums, man.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you would.
So yeah, I mean, let's step away from plums. Let's go back to the Word Alive. Yeah, you mentioned before this is I think it isn't this year or next year will be the 15th anniversary of the band.
So technically, April of this year was when the Word Alive became the Word Alive.
Right.
I can't remember. Music started being released around June or July, and then I officially joined in November. Yeah. So in November, I will have been in the Word Alive for 15 years. Wow. Which is crazy to say.
Long time.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to celebrate that milestone, or?
You know what? Maybe we'll go out for a nice dinner or something, because I can't remember where we'll be. I'll be, or no, it might be one of the last days I'm home. I don't know. I'm either going to be gone or I'm going to be home. Either way, I'll try to see if I can have like a special meal or something.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like 15 years. It's like, I'm just happy to be here every day. It kind of feels the same to me at this point. Like 15, I'm like, wow, that's sick.
Yeah. And, coming up to album number 7, what would you, I mean, if you had the chance to go back and speak to 2008 Telle, what do you think, what would you say to him? What do you think he would feel like knowing what you've achieved?
I mean, I would definitely encourage him to like keep going. I would encourage him to maybe like not be so trusting at times and naive. There's a lot of things you got to learn, but other than that, just keep wearing your heart on your sleeve and keep trying to make music you love.
I mean, I've been following you since like even before the Word Alive, like even the In Fear and Faith and the Greeley Estate days. So
Yeah.
it's really cool and really inspiring to see you coming strength to strength, and like vocally as well. It seems like this new album's your best work yet. So it's
I
crazy.
tried. I'm trying.
And looking at the future, I know you mentioned before you've got these US tour dates coming up in August and September, I think.
Yep.
Obviously, the album comes out on August 25th. What else is
Yeah.
planned so far for 2023 that you can talk about?
Well, we will be on tour November, December. I can't say much more than that though. And we also I have plans in the works for 2024. So we're definitely like building and thinking far out. There are some talks right now. We're in negotiations for a Europe UK tour early next year that we're trying to find a way to make it make sense. Because as you know, and we've probably heard, like it's like very, very expensive for, US bands to go over there, and,
Definitely.
being gone 3-4 weeks, it's a very large expense. So we're trying to make the money work and get to a point where we can go back and share this record and a lot of other songs with our fans over there.
Way
We're
more.
working on it.
Like since you've been here last time, I think you came in 2019.
Yeah.
Like Brexit's happened, and you've got all these additional costs just going between mainland Europe and the UK, and
Yeah.
it's insane, man.
Yeah. Everything's just more expensive with touring. Like I want to say it's like, it feels like it's accurate to say that it's like 30 or 40% more expensive than it was like pre-pandemic. So like you're just spending so much more money than you were before. And it's wild. So, but that's why I hope fans love the record, because we're going to need you to come out and support the shows, because it is not cheap to put on the shows and to be traveling around. So hopefully people connect with it. And, that's just our goal always, is just make the best music we can, that we love, that we're passionate about. And the rest is up to the fans.
Yeah. So get the streams in and get the pre-orders in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Tally. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy at the moment with album just around the corner. So before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, any final words, anything you want to say, anything you want to plug? Floor's yours.
Just stream Hate Me. And we actually just, while I've been on the phone, or it happened before because I've been doing interviews, but we just got a Rock Sound cover. So go support that. And I think there's like a exclusive t-shirt that comes with it. So yeah, if you're listening to this, then keep listening to The Word Alive, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Tally. Hopefully catch you when you guys get over to the UK, when that finally happens.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, no worries. Take care, mate.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast, then please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you want to support the podcast further, you can go and give it a follow on social media, pick up something from the merch store, or subscribe to the Patreon to get early access to episodes. All the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again, hopefully catch you on the next one, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.